Hi there and welcome to Module 1.0 of my full Python course. If you have not enrolled already, please do so by subscribing to the channel and let's get started. So today we're just going to talk about something really quick called range, and I'm just going to show you what it is and not even all the different ways of using this thing, just how it's commonly going to be used. So I can do range of 10, and that if you output that, it's going to, of course, connect to the environment for a moment, set up, and it actually outputs this thing as range of 0, 10. Now, that output is not very useful to us, but notice what we can do with it is if I say for x in this thing, remember we saw this already, except this thing was replaced by some list. We were doing with 1, 2, and 3. So now I'm going to replace this thing with range of 10, and then I'm just going to print x to show you what it's doing. And so you can see basically what this range thing is if you loop through it through this for loop syntax, what you can do is it's basically the same thing as this list, 0, 1, 2, 3, dot, 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 all the way up until and including 9. Okay, so notice I put 10, but it's 0 to 9. And although that might throw you off at first, it's because, remember, if we're using this as an index to some list, well then, if we had the list of 0 or 10 elements, basically, if we had a 10 element list, which I'll just show you 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, there we go, 10. Okay, so if I had this list is equal to this thing, I'm just going to call it LST. You'll see that commonly later. So for index in the range of 10, well, it actually works out that these are the valid indices for this list. Remember, it's 0 indexed. So this is index 0, this is 1, this is 2, and this is actually 9 is the last thing. So you can see 0 up until 9. So this thing, this range thing, what we will very often do is in range of the length, so we can ask what the length of something is. The length of this list is, well, whatever it is. We can see down here that the length of list is, well, not defined because I haven't called that yet. Let me just put that down here for now. So length of list is going to be 10. Right? We have 10 different things. So if I ask what the range of the length of the list is, well, that automatically grabs the length, and that is 10. So we're getting range of 10, which is, again, what we had before. It's going to be these indice values here. So what we can do is print list of index. So now what that does is actually prints all of the elements. So it's going through, and lists of index is actually the ith or whatever value in the list. It means if I was to change this to I, that would make a lot of sense, where I say list sub I is the ith value in the list. So I is 0 first, then it's basically the 0th or first element in the list. I then goes to be 1, and so that would index the second thing, and so on. It is the valid index list of this list so that we can go through it properly. So there's two different ways to easily iterate through the elements in a list. Sometimes we want to have the index associated with the spot, basically. So we want to know, sometimes we want to know if this is the 0th or the first slot. Or other times we just want to say for val in the actual list itself. And then we would say print val. So sometimes we don't even need to care about the spot, the index that we're looking at. We can just go through the elements, and that is a question we'll have to ask later for when we're actually designing a program. So that's the idea, is this range object, which I will show you very quickly a little bit more about, is you'll see by default, it's actually doing range of 0 up until this value. And let me just, when I'm outputting what it is, don't worry about this for now. Basically, I'm just converting this thing to a list. And so you can see those are the valid values that you're going to get when you iterate or you do this for x in this thing. These are the values that you're going to get. So by default, it has range of 5 is going to be 0 up until that value minus 1. But what we can also do is define a starting point. So we might want to do range 2 to 5. And if you can guess what that does, well, it is going to be 2, 3, and 4, and not 5, because it's always going to be the end minus 1. And there's actually something else we can do, which is the increasing value. So we could actually do something, and it's going to make a lot more sense. If I say go from 0 to 10, and then I put a 2 here. So this says, okay, starting value is 0, inclusive, so we're actually going to have 0. This value is going to be the ending value minus 1, so the last value is actually going to be 9. And this is the step, so it's going to be 0, step by 2, 2, step by 2, 4, step by 2, 6, step by 2, 8, step by 2, 10 is not included because 10 is bigger than this value minus 1. So that's the range object, and most of the time we're not even going to need to use this more complicated syntax. Almost all of the time, I'm going to have some list of arbitrary length. It's going to be finite, but it's going to say have some amount of things in it. And then we're going to want to ask what the length of that list is. And then if we put that into range, then we can iterate over that. And although you're not going to see me do this in code, this is just to display it for you now, to make it as a list that's showing what the actual range objects are. And these are the things that we're going to commonly use because these are the valid indices corresponding to this list. 0, 1, 2, 3. I will see you in the next part.